Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. I'm going to be spending the day on Capitol Hill with the Society of Dermatology Physician Assistants on Hill Day. This is my first time, so I'm going live on all the platforms. So now I'm just doing some quality control check. If you follow me on YouTube, you know you're very used to this. We always have to check to make sure that you can see me and hear me in all the places. If you are here, let me know. Actually, can I even see you? This is my first time doing it this way. I told you I was going to go live yesterday, and I ran out of time. I didn't even think I was going to make it on my flight. And so I'm back early this morning before I head over and meet the group to get prepped for the day to answer your questions. So let's get to it. And you should be seeing me on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Let's see. We've done this on the Melanin Initiative podcast, but this is the first time I'm doing it on my platform. Yay! I can see me and I can see it. Let's see if you can hear me. I tried to find a quiet place. Yeah. Okay. All right, great. Very challenging to find a quiet place in the city. Every time I find a place, something else happens, like a truck. Now there's a lady rolling a garbage can, sweeping. So just consider this an immersive experience. Welcome to the district. Okay, so I don't know her name, but she said that she owns a small aesthetic practice. Think Botox, fillers, all the things to help you feel refreshed and confident. She loves what she does. She pours her heart into every single client. Once someone comes in, they almost always stay, which really means the world to her. But lately, she's felt a bit off, not ungrateful, just tired. She's doing everything: admin, consultations, follow-ups, marketing. She's still very passionate, but some days she wonders if she's doing something wrong or if this is just what running a business feels like. And she wants to know if I've ever felt this way and some advice on some questions here. So let me know in the comments where you're joining me from. If you're here this week, either for the Society of Dermatology PA's conference or Black Health Connect, and if you notice any lipstick on my teeth. Okay, first decision, what made you decide to open your own business instead of working for someone else? I think this is a great question. And I just like calling the shots. I knew a long time ago that I wanted to get my doctorate because I had started applying for jobs really, really young. My first W-2 was a freshman in high school, and I've probably applied to over hundreds of jobs, literally hundreds of jobs. I really liked working, and I really liked money. And because I was so young and didn't have experience and probably didn't really have a good strategy, I heard no a lot. But that gave me so many skills and resilience, and I learned a lot by doing that. But anyway, because of all those rejections, I said, you know what? I want to be as close to the top as possible. So I have a few people tell me no is possible. And so I always knew I wanted to be in the leadership position professionally, and but may want to start my own business. Just being exposed to it. That exposure makes a really big difference. And I think there's a difference, which I've talked about before, between, and shout out to Robert Kiyosaki, the author of the cash flow quadrant. He talks about on one side of the quadrant, you have those who are, and all of us, we start that way, right? Self-employed and or employees, and then self-employed, right? Actually, a lot of my fellow MP entrepreneurs, you're actually self-employed. You don't really own a business yet because you're still doing all the things, myself included, right? Those early stages can be a lot like that, depending on if you have what you're starting off with, which is a lot of us, limited time, limited capital. And so we start off on that side, but the goal is to be on the other side of the quadrant, where you're a business owner and you're an investor. So what's the difference? Well, on this side of the quadrant, we only make money when we work. Whereas on the other side of the quadrant, we make money when we're asleep. That is the true path to wealth. And so at some point in your plan, you have to have it that you're going to get help. Someone's going to be there. And so once I started learning about business and financial literacy and the path to creating that for myself and generations after me, it led to business. And I think it just fits with my personality a lot. And it puts you in so many positions, not only to be the one calling the shots, but to create opportunities. You get to create so many opportunities for other people, from giving out scholarships, investing in their business, investing in their dream, allowing them, not everyone wants to be a business owner. You give them a place where they can find fulfillment and have that, and also clock out at the end of the day and go home and be fully present for their loved ones. But those are the reasons I got into business and why I highly recommend it, because you need to have multiple streams of income. And so even if you work for someone else, you should have other streams of income that you're in control of. And that's where you find a lot of creativity, flexibility, and fulfillment if you're not finding it in other places. And as Kirby Williams talked to me this weekend on the Male Initiative podcast, when we talked about vicarious trauma, it can help balance out really intense work. If you work in a really intense specialty or setting and you love it, but you're just not able to, doing it full time can be more stress than you would like. And so maybe doing it part time, and then doing something else the other time is like the perfect balance for some people. What's been the most rewarding part about running your own business? Calling the shots. I like to, I grew up very kind of strict. And so I really like to live with much freedom as possible. And so having as few rules as possible really lets me feel that freedom. And when people work with me and I am able to give that to them too and allow them to explore, it's a journey because most people aren't used to living without boundaries. But it's really great. You have an idea, you can just put it into practice. You don't have to get anyone's permission. You don't have to hear their opinion. Yeah, it's just that freedom. I don't know any other way to put it, but freedom of what other people think and what other people's fears and their anxieties. It's like coloring outside of the lines. What's something you wish you had known before you started business? Before I started, I wish I would have known what you kind of alluded to in your question, what the feeling of entrepreneurship is. Because all the things that you mentioned, that is part of the journey. All the things you feel, imposter syndrome, if you're going to do it or not, if other people are going to take you seriously, if you have what it takes. And also, I think the time span. Sometimes depending on where someone shares their journey, you might not get to see the journey itself. You just see the destination, like what it looks like on the other side. And you can be disillusioned by, oh, they did it all by themselves, or it was overnight, or it was quick, or it was easy. Kind of like relationships. You see people who are together for a long time and you might think it's all based on those euphoric love feelings, whereas it's actually a decision. Every single day we're making a decision to stay together. Every single day we're making a decision to show up and be persistent and consistent in our business. And I think just kind of knowing the realities of what to expect in business, what resources are available. And for me, I think the real key is knowing that that saying, you have to have skin in the game. And that goes on both sides. So if you really want to see things grow quickly, you have to invest your time and your money. When you do that, other people take you seriously, and then they become willing to invest in your dream too. But also, on the other side, when you're the one helping other people, if they don't have skin in the game, they're probably not going to show up. They're not going to take it seriously. They're going to end up wasting your time that you could be spending with someone who is ready to take it seriously. And that's where that saying comes from. People who don't pay attention. And so, we're talking about money a lot this week. And I don't know, we seem to be really comfortable charging patients to help them with their problem, but we're not really comfortable charging each other, right? We have that whole conversation about charging students for preceptorship, but what we're showing that student, which is a temporary phase in their clinical practice, that once they're out there and they're sharing their knowledge and expertise that they paid to acquire, they paid for it with their money, their time, their sacrifice, some of their emotions, some of their physical pain, injuries, that they're worth being compensated for that in return. That's what we're showing them. And we're able to talk about it with them as they're learning with us. So when they're out there on their own, they have that structure, they've had that guidance and role modeling. That's another conversation for another day. But the biggest thing for me is that you need help, not only to help to run your business, but help for you to help do your operations, but help to start optimize and scale your business too. I think it would have been great to know that sooner. And I have found community in some communities I've created, like the DMV Dermatology and PPA group. We'll be having our summer mixer this Friday. If you've RSVP'd, look out for me today after all of the festivities. I'll send an email out and with the final details for Friday. Have you ever felt like giving up, and what pushed you through? No, I never felt like giving up. I never felt like giving up. I'm a big dreamer. And so if it's not this, it's going to be something else. And most recently, what I realized that there's like the my realization of the entrepreneurial journey, not only because of my own experience, but when I see it in my peers, the things that you guys talk about and share, I relate to that, and it helped me see, oh, this is just what it's like. This is just part of it. Even being part of your biggest launch ever this year, which we're coming to our final weeks, being in that group, that community, having accountability partners, seeing their same experiences reflected in my own, helped me feel really confident about what it means to be an entrepreneur, the problems that we have, and most importantly, the solutions that we need. So I never felt like giving up. If anything, it's more about recognizing when to pivot, which is completely part of the entrepreneurial journey. And that pivot might be another specialty, might be another setting, it might be adding on other services, which is what we're going to talk about in my upcoming free masterclass. Other kind of ways that you can serve. And I'm particularly excited about today that we're going to Capitol Hill to help patients. When I talk to so many people and say, "Hey, why'd you get into healthcare? Why'd you get into healthcare?" They'll say, "I just want to help people." And I say, well, you can help people doing a lot of things. You can hold the door, you can make them a sandwich. What is it about healthcare and specifically that makes you want to do this? And, we beat up bedside nursing a lot. But, that's one relationship with the patient. That's one way you can help people. So whether it's at the bedside or even in an office, it's the same relationship with the patient, right? But when you're able to step beyond that, like here, being on Capitol Hill, speaking on behalf of patients, because the more patients you're seeing, the more time it takes. It means you have less time to speak up on behalf of your patient in other ways, to do other things for them, because patients need help in so many areas. Everything from transportation to health literacy, understanding what just took place in that room, in that visit. Being on Capitol Hill, speaking for them, speaking for the voiceless, advocacy, education. All of those factors help the patient. So when we say we want to help the patient, just being that one-on-one is just one way to help the patient. And so the fact that we're going up here on Capitol Hill to speak to legislators on behalf of patients is another very important way that we can help them. So let's see. So no, I never felt like giving up, but entrepreneurship is lonely, and it can be you need to be in community, because the rest of the world thinks differently, right? Only 10% of the people are going to make it. So that means you're surrounded by 90% of the 90%. So you have to find the people who already think and believe this way, because you need to be drinking that Kool-Aid all the time. And if they have already taken and drinking the Kool-Aid, they have plenty to share with you. Other than that, you're going to be spending so much time convincing other people, explaining yourself, apologizing, seeking validation. You should be spending all that time and energy building your business. But it is not uncommon to get discouraged, because this is hard. It's a lot of hard work. And that's where the power of community really comes in. So you can lean on us and leverage our, some days we'll be up and we'll lift you up, and some days we'll be the one that's down and look to you to lift us up. Let's see. I might save the other half of these for later. What does client loyalty mean to you, and how do you nurture it in your business? So, my whole platform is B2B, business to business. And so my clients, actually, I love this question, because it speaks to my philosophy about business. And if you sit back and reflect on what you've learned about business, you'll realize you have your own philosophies about business. And so, as I talked about before, I have the two sides of the quadrant. If the goal is to be on the other side, the business owner and the investor, that means that you're working on the business, not in it. So that means you're going to be hiring other people to carry out your vision. Now, whether you're in aesthetics, or I was talking to someone, one of my nurses, he has a clothing line for children. And so whether you can find 100 models to wear those clothes. I can find 100 people to give the Botox, but there's only one me that can communicate this vision. And so it's my job to be a master communicator, so that other people understand the vision. Because at the end of the day, what we need to recognize is the mindset of the employee. And that's how we raise our children, right? Go to a good school, get a good degree. That will give you a good job, and that will afford you a good life. Which all of those things are not guaranteed, but that's the mindset that we raise our children. So those are the people we're hiring. At no point in that conversation did I talk to them about the importance of helping a business grow, of offering their contributions, of not being afraid to speak up, of sharing their innovative ideas. Same thing with the business owner. If you sit here and I talk about the dreams that I have for my business for 30 minutes, you're never going to hear me talk about my employees. You're going to hear about how great it is for me and my family and my generation. You're not going to hear me talk about my employees. And the two of us are trying to work together. So when you step back and think about it, we're not really prepared for that dynamic. So the first philosophy is you have to understand that someone else is going to be carrying out your vision. So you need to set them up for success so that they can carry out that vision, even if they don't really care about it. Because at the end of the day, they just want to put food on their table. And so putting those things in place, understanding how those systems work and what their experience is like utilizing those systems. Because if it doesn't work for them, they're not going to be happy and they're going to leave. And if they leave, it falls on me. So just think about it. Think about Amazon. If someone calls off and they can't make a delivery, you think Jeff Bezos is showing up? He's not showing up to deliver those boxes. I want you to have that kind of mindset. The second philosophy is find other people who keep you in business. So think about an Amazon or this Amtrak train or Coca-Cola, Forbes, Mercedes. All of those brands, they might be the best in class or they might not. It really doesn't matter because what they've done an excellent job at is becoming a household name. And they didn't do that by themselves. That speaks back to what I was just talking about before, about being in community, the power of other people knowing that you exist, the power of other people singing your praises, which is the big part of business, is the marketing side, right? And so if I know about my dream, if I'm like you and you have this beautiful practice, but nobody else knows it exists, it's not going to go anywhere. But as soon as I walk in a room of 30 other NP entrepreneurs, now there's 30 other people who know I exist, 30 other people who can say my name, who can refer me clients, who can get me opportunities. So that's the power of community. And so recognizing who benefits from me being in business is a huge part of success in business. And it's just your friends keeping you in business, your friends who are in media, who are going to put your name on a billboard, who are going to put your name in an ad, who are going to cite you in some article or in some lecture, who are going to give you opportunities, and you're going to do the same for them, and together you're going to keep showing up for one another. So I think that's how I maintain loyalty, and I give that what I want to receive. Let's finish these up. But what's behind the scenes moment that no one sees but me? I don't know. Maybe I'll come back later because it's so loud. So I think I'm going to wrap it up because I need to go meet the group. So thank you for joining. Leave any comments that you have below. Remember that I have my upcoming free masterclass to teach you all these other ways that you can make money in your sleep, that you can offer your services and still help patients. Because even if you're like an educator like me, or you coach other business owners, by supporting, and Alicia talked about this on the podcast, by showing up and supporting this person who treats all the patients, that trickles down to the patient, right? You heard me talk all the time about how we learn all about patient-centered care, and it's drilled into us. But at no point in any of these conversations do we hear about provider-centered practice. How do I take care of myself? How do I make room for myself? And so that's what I spend all my time doing, because I want you to be able to show up and do all the things that you still love. And so I want to support you, because in 24 hours, you can only see so many patients. You can only do so many things. And when we have that community and we have that village, now we can 10x what we do collectively. I thank you all for joining me this morning. I'll tune in later with some of my friends and let you know about all that we're doing here today. So we're going to be speaking to legislators, and this is such an important thing you can do in dermatology, is speak up for your patients, right? And so we'll come back later, talk about what we did today, how you get into this space, what you can expect, and how you can show up for your patients so they can get the care they need, whether it's you doing it directly or supporting the rest of us in the industry. I thank you all for watching. I'll see you later.